Alright, let's do this. What is good, y'all? I go by Lil Mvrda Beats. I'm a producer out of Southern California. And today I'm here to teach y'all how to make a fire West Coast beat. So let's get started. I pre-made this loop right before the tutorial just to save time. I'm in 100 BPM. West Coast beats are going to be anywhere from the range of 85 to 100 BPM, sometimes even higher. But for today, we're going to be at 100 BPM. So let's take a listen. So that is what we are working with today in terms of loops. Today I strictly want to focus on beat pattern, drum selection, sound selection. Those are going to be my main focuses for today. Loop making will be a completely different video, but we will get to that and I will break down exactly how to sound select sounds for making West Coast loops and how to get started in making West Coast loops. A little bit of music theory, a little bit of technique when it comes to making them. So next, after your loop, I pre-selected a whole bunch of sounds that I am also going to link in the description for my free drum kit. So go get that, download it, and it is very user-friendly for any DAW. Drag and drop, you start using them, and yeah, let's get right into it. I'm going to start with the clap. Now, before I lay down any pattern, I'm going to turn that metronome on. I highly recommend it for anybody that's starting out any kind of beats. I would turn it on. Today for West Coast, let's take a listen. For West Coast beats today, we are going to be hitting on hit 2 and 4. So let's take a listen. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you're going to stretch that out all the way to the end of the bar right there. And let's take a listen. 1, 2, 3, 4. You guys hear that every time it's hitting on 2 and 4. So that's going to be your basic West Coast clap pattern. You can get into some crazy fucking shit with it later down the line, but today we're going to focus on making it the basic clap pattern. So that's going to be on 2 and 4 every time. So let's take one last listen. And of course, I turn my clap down just a little bit. I personally recommend in any beat, I would start messing with the levels as I go in and add each sound just to make it sound a little bit like what it's going to sound like for the finished product. So next, I am going to do my hi-hats next. The reason I do hi-hats next and not percussions or kick or 808 is because the hi-hat, at least for me, gives me a basis of how I want the beat to sound in terms of groove. That's going to be your rhythm for the beat, guys. Hi-hats, I strictly am very strict with the hi-hats. That is going to be your main groove and what's going to get people moving when it comes to your beat. So this is what my hi-hats sound like right now. So that right there is going to be your hi-hat patterns. The way I would recommend going into making West Coast hi-hat patterns is filling in the spaces right before the claps, filling in the spaces in between the claps, each space in between the clap. And let's take a listen with the hi-hats and the claps isolated for that matter. And I strictly try to keep that rhythm and bounce going and make sure that at the end of the day, it's very subjective when it comes to how you think a beat should have its rhythm and how it should make people feel, you know. But in terms of West Coast beat, it's always going to be very bouncy. It's going to be very rhythmic and it's going to get people moving, you know. So that's my hi-hat pattern. One thing I strictly want to get through with hi-hats is please mess with the velocities when you're doing hi-hat rolls. Any roll for that matter going into the hi-hats, I would mess around with the velocities and make it sound less robotic and staticky, because that's the way I like to put it. When you leave it standard stock, it sounds very dull and it doesn't sound like someone's behind this masterpiece, you know? So let's get right into the next sound. All right, so next is going to be my open hat. So in terms of the open hat, there's a lot of places you could place this. I personally am going to show you a couple of places to put this. So you can start off by putting it right here at the beginning of the beat. That's going to be your most basic open hat or cymbal pattern. If you put a cymbal down, a crash down, or open hat, you could start off by putting it right there. You could put it right here. And then you could repeat it all the way down. It is so subjective, guys, in terms of how you're going to want to do it. The best way I like to do the open hats is I like my percussions to lead into stuff. So my open hats, whether it's going to lead into the clap, whether it's going to lead into a kick or an 808, that's what I really try to look for. So let's look for the space right there where I feel like it's going to lead into a clap or maybe a percussion if I hear something in my head. I'm thinking right there. And you'll kind of hear the jig of it and the groove of the percussions as I start adding them. So I think that's something that I really want to emphasize too, is being able to open your ears into the rhythm of the beat. Listen to how everything kind of leads into it. Okay, and one thing I like to do a little bit is kind of change it up on the second bar right here. So I'm going to add just one kind of tiny stop right there, and let's see how it sounds. I'm going to put it out just a little bit. I'm really trying to make this tutorial as organic as I can, trying to go through every sound and give you guys the time to follow along and add your own sounds if you have your own sounds. So next, my next perk is going to be this kind of glass sounding thing. That's kind of what I kind of want to call it today. So that glass sound is going to go anywhere in between the spaces that I feel like it sounds good, you know. So let's play. And everything doesn't have to repeat every single time, you know. So if I'm gonna do that, I don't have to put it but it's just very subjective, you know. If you want to do that, you can. You don't have to. In terms of this beat, we're gonna keep it just hitting. And I'm gonna go back up and change this hi-hat, or this open hat, sorry. I just took out one of the open hats just because I thought it sounded a little stressful right there is the way I want to put it. So let's go on to the next sound. I put the glass sound right here. It is going to be hitting right before that second bar hits. Next sound I have is going to be the scratch sound. Now, in terms of using a scratch, I really like using the scratch sound, the DJ scratch sound for the West Coast beats, because it gives that groove, and you are able to use it in so many fucking ways that I sometimes am in disbelief trying to use it, because there's just so many places I can put it and so many patterns that if you really work through with the program, you find a lot of shit with it. So let's go through the beat and fill in those spaces. Again, everything is filling in those spaces, and personally for me, letting everything lead into one another. So let's find parts in this beat where we could add this. So let's see what we got. So I'm going to put one right here leading into the clap. I'm going to put the EQ high end turned up a little bit just so we can. With the scratches, using the scratches, I kid you not, you can get into like the jiggiest like rhythms you could think possible. I sometimes abuse the scratch sound because it's just that fucking good, you know. But you'll hear right now as I'm making the beat, and I'll play it one more time. You'll hear everything leading into it. As you hear me making the beat, I'm leading everything into this. So. Alright, next sound we got is gonna be this kind of sleigh bellish sound. In terms of percussions, I really like to use almost the best way to describe it is like metalish glass sounds within West Coast. If you listen to a lot of the music that is out today, there's a lot of percussions in the background that are just very metalish and glass sounding, and it just sounds so fucking good within West Coast beats. So, and this is kind of a shaker sound as well. So shakers are very known in West Coast music, you know. So let's go ahead and fill in the blanks here and see what we can do. I'm gonna put this in the background where it's very subtle, and you could barely almost hear it in the background when it hits right before this. And again, when you're messing with the levels of any beat, I would just mess with the levels of the instruments and the percussions and everything as soon as you're putting them in, because you want this to sound more like the finished product as you're making it, you know, as opposed to working with the levels right at the end. Now we got my favorite sound. We got the 808s. So for the 808s, we are going to want to put this in the right key. So we're going to take a look at our loop. I used a chord progression here, chord progression here. These are going to be my best friends for the video. Your 808s are going to hit on the root notes every time. What a root note is the start of your chord progression, or your loop for that matter. The start of my chord progression is on D sharp minor, and the start of this next chord progression is on A sharp minor. Your 808s are gonna hit on these two bottom notes. So let's go ahead, go down to the 808s, and let's input those. So we're gonna be on D sharp and A sharp. You can start out by just putting one note and kind of getting the feel of it, and then filling in the 808s as you go. So that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to turn off this bass up here. So let's go. My biggest key with the 808s is really get the bounce of the beat. You want people groove into the beat. You want people to almost get a sense of this beat's fucking breakdancing, you know? So that's my goal with making 808s jump and bounce. So let's do that. right, so I laid down the 808 patterns. Let's take a listen. That is going to be my 808 pattern for the beat. When it comes to making 808 patterns, the best way to go about it is really starting, again, be on your root note. And I would put a hit right here on the first one. And then immediately after this first clap, you're going to put a hit down there. Leave those two notes. Copy them into the next root note. And I would start there and fill them in. And again, 808s are very subjective. You'll be able to start putting the notes in and feel what you want to do when in terms of bounce and getting the rhythm out there, because you can start going into octave changes, like you can see right here, I changed it a little bit at the end. Instead of leaving the note down here, I put it up there. So that is going to be it for our 808s. I'm going to turn it down just a little bit. In terms of the kick, you were just going to follow your 808 pattern. It depends how you want to make your beat. You know, if you want to leave some 808s not having a kick and then putting a kick after that on parts that the 808 doesn't hit, it's completely up to you. But if we're going to go West Coast, you start your basic 808 pattern right there, and then your kicks just go right on top of it. So let's do that. So again, you don't have to have the kicks hitting on every single 808. Mind you, it's subjective when it comes to wanting to do what you want in the beat. In terms of basic West Coast kick patterns, I recommend everything in West Coast. If you're gonna start the basic route, just do these two hits. You noticed I did that with the 808s. I did it with the hi-hats before, and that's something that a lot of beginners can definitely do to be able to fill in the notes and start learning how to fill in those spaces and the rhythm in between everything. So let's take one more listen, as now we have the full beat essentially before mixing. So that is going to be essentially the end of the beat. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to time lapse me mixing it and laying it out essentially. So let's do that. Lil Mvrda, kill the track, please. So that is going to be the end of the video, guys. I'm going to end it off by letting you guys listen to the finished product. I thank you guys a fuck ton for sticking around to the end. Make sure you like, subscribe. I got a lot more shit coming when it comes to vocal mixing, beats, West Coast beats, trap beats, multi-genre beats, everything. I got everything coming. So let's listen to the beat, and yeah, until the next time, I appreciate you guys. Let's go. Lil Mvrda, kill the track, please.